Well, that was the thing with Italy had that big problem a couple of years ago. Napoli. I don't know, it was a sort of mafia thing where they had no more places to put the rubbish. But the mafia were also involved with, contracts, so there was a big problem. So, for about a month or 2 months, 3 months, just all the shit built up outside Napoli. Piles and stuff, and everyone was driving into the country to throw the rubbish, and it just got worse and worse. So we fixed the problem. They didn't fix the problem at all. They just put all the rubbish on a train to Germany and paid Germany quite a large amount of money to dispose of it. So I don't know if you count that as fixing the problem. It's the thing about treating the symptoms and not the disease. Yeah. Like one of my best stories with that was in Korea when I was there, and this was just fantastic. Christmas time, right? They have a ministry for gender equality. Now, it's kind of alarming that they have to have such a thing, but, okay, take it in the right spirit, let's hope it's all for the good. But the Ministry for Gender Equality got done at Christmas time because they had been giving bribes to major companies not to send their executives to brothels on the Christmas night out. That story was just so back to front. It really had me
so they were
symptoms,
let me
not
get this
disease.
straight. They were paying people not to send people to brothels.
Yes.
During the Christmas office party.
Not paying them brown envelope style, but kind of tax incentives.
Yeah.
And things, just
in the interest of gender equality.
Yeah. Which all seems symptoms, disease. Yeah.
You're doing a book about Korea, aren't you?
I am.
Or are you?
I am, but I've done about half of it. Very different from the thing about Nepal. The thing about Nepal was quite functional. Travel, story, here's what to do, here's what not to do, and a couple of stories about crazy things that happened. Korea just is about, some things don't work out very well, and that didn't work out very well for me. And just the mix of cultures as well.
Yeah.
How, when they're trying, the Koreans are trying desperately to be Western, like so much so that a few years ago there was a law that every toilet in Korea must be the Western style sit-down toilet and not the squat toilet, things like that. And however, there's part of it that just doesn't translate. No, I'm not obviously they shouldn't copy the Western culture. The Western culture is not anything to write home about, but they're trying to copy it in every way, but they copy parts of it without understanding what they are. It's like the city I was living in.
Like the Americans doing Zen Buddhism or something.
Yeah. And it's like the city I was living in was called Daejeon, and they paid £100,000 or something like that to a marketing company to come up with a slogan in English for their city, to promote their city. They paid £100,000 for Daejeon, and what the company came up with was, it's Daejeon. How much did you...
Short and to the point.
Yeah, but there's nothing of any great value in that city at all that I found, because it is 2 million. Now, Glasgow is kind of officially 750,000 city, but it's much bigger because you've got like other places around, like Paisley and East Kilbride and all these other places, and it adds up. So Glasgow behaves much more like a city of 2 million people than a city of sort of less than 1. Because there's so much happening all the time. And it took me to leave for a long time, for a year, and go another place to see that, because I went there in Daejeon. There was 2 million people, but absolutely nothing happening all the time, just nothing. So if you want to do anything, the only place is to go to Seoul, where there's 14 million people, and there's some things happening, but again, it's all quite calm and... Although directing traffic seems to be the national sport. They just do it randomly. Stop in the street. No, this way. Quite weird.
That must be fun.
Yeah. Have you travelled a lot? Where have you been?
No, I've travelled a lot in England, but nowhere else. I was born in Northumberland, and we moved to Yorkshire and Lancashire in turn. With a side trip to Germany where my sister was born. And I came to London to go to university, and that's where I've stayed.
Right.
And I've been to Scotland on holiday, but that's about it.
This is the old Billy Connolly joke about, you meet the English person, you say, oh, I've been all over the world and I've never been to Scotland. And you say, what, am I supposed to be impressed?
Do people actually say that?
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea.
What's the point supposed to be?
And the other one's, I went to Scotland and it rained.
Well, you could stay in England and it would rain.
Yeah. Oh, it's not fucking Benidorm. What do you want? But, no.
I went to Scotland and it rained. It was great.
The whole Scotland-England thing, like, people talk about, there's a thing, the Scottish people have an animosity towards the English people, that the English just don't have an animosity towards the Scottish people. Right, there's two things about that. One, the English tend to reserve a lot of their animosity for the French, I think.
And don't forget
fairly
the
or
Germans.
unfairly, and the Germans. But I told you what happened to me in the pub last week in Cambridge. We don't really expect such a thing, but we had people singing at me who I hadn't spoken to them. They had only heard my Scottish accent at the bar, but they then proceeded to sing, "I would rather be a packy than a jock,"
Yeah.
at me. Which doesn't seem... You don't really associate that with Cambridge.
No, it's English humour at its most refined and sophisticated, but you don't think of it happening in a university town, do you?
And the weird thing is, people say, so you like Scottish independence? Yes. Oh, so you hate England? Yeah, well...
Doesn't necessarily follow.
It's like, what English things do you think are good, I was asked. I said, right, I'll give you 5. Shakespeare, Byron, Newton, the Smiths, and the Happy Mondays. There's 5. All fantastic achievements of English culture. Oh, is that it?
Well, how many do you want? I've never really got the whole patriotism thing at all. I mean, I know Orwell approved of it, but the essay he wrote about patriotism and nationalism is one of the ones I disagree with. Because I think that he's just the aspect of patriotism he disapproves of, he's called nationalism, and the aspect of nationalism that he approves of is called patriotism. I've just never seen it at all. You were born on a particular section of continental shelf, why should you feel proud?
Right.
You obviously there are cultural differences that you have, but they're differences, they're matters of taste, and that's all they are.
Well, that's the thing about Scottish independence. Sorry, there was a fucking rat just went on the wall. Sorry.
I wish I'd seen that.
No, this is the thing about Scottish independence that a lot of people in England don't understand. They think it's like a hatred of England or something like that. But
something a Croat or a Serb would do.
But it's because of with all of the history that's happened, with the different. In some of the things that the British Empire did, the Scots were compatriots with England, which I think we should be kind of ashamed about, because all people in Britain should be ashamed of a lot of the things that the British Empire did. But, a lot of the time there was a big friction and a big divergence in opinion. But the thing was, the idea of the Scottish culture was put down so badly after Culloden, all of that. So it's about, keeping alive these songs and this language and that music and that literature. That's actually a far more stronger motive in the Scottish independence thing than the idea of, I hate England.
Yeah.
And that's what the people in England have never really got, or not all of them, but some people in England just don't understand that is a far stronger motive in the Scottish independence thing.
It's one of the things you're just not told. I've lost count of the amount of stuff I've read about how the British Empire fell apart in a very civilised fashion. And then you read something like History of the Hanged by, I've forgotten his name, David somebody, which is about what we did in Kenya to the Mau Mau during the Mau Mau rebellion. And the Mau Mau were not great humanistic warriors or anything. They murdered huge numbers of their own people and so on and so on. But, the fact is, so did we. We hanged 1,090 people, I think it is, and we put an untold number in concentration camps. And 1,090 is more than the French managed to hang in Algeria. You just don't hear about it. Certainly not in school, and probably not ever.
It's like Gordon Brown and the biggest...
The golden thread running through our history.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just nonsense.
And he's a Scotsman.
Yeah. That was his biggest mistake, though, because he was obviously worried when he came in that the English press would do kind of, you know, stingy Scotsman, all of this, and we don't want a jock. He was worried about this kind of thing, so he started this big, yes, we're all British together and we should be happy about being British together. And the English wouldn't accept that from a Scottish person, and the Scottish hate him even more for it. So it backfired. It backfired on him majorly, and he's also the first. Well, it's a strange one. He's the first British Prime Minister ever to put the Cross of St George over Downing Street. No other British Prime Minister did that, but he felt he had to do it.
Put the Union Jack.
Yeah, they all had the Union Jack, but he put the Cross of St George over Downing Street.
It's those things. That's just typical Gordon Brown, isn't it? It's maladroit, it's tactless, and it makes you think, what a prick. Just trying so hard to get it right and just failing miserably.
Yeah, he completely misjudged what the reaction to that would be on both sides of the Scottish-English border. He believed that, we'd all rally around. It's the same thing.
Rally around the flag.
I know you don't like sport, but and a really interesting case in point, politically, not sportingly, is the British Olympic football team, which there's been so much.
I didn't even know football was an Olympic sport.
Well, it is, but only under 23, because FIFA don't want it to compete with the World Cup as a major event. So there's this thing where the British government have really, really wanted a British football team to represent, because they've never done it before, because of the four separate associations. There's the Scottish Association, the English ones, and the English FA have said, yeah, we want a British team, but the Scottish and the Welsh and the Northern Irish are we're not doing it. We're not playing, we're not contributing, because they don't want their own international football status taken away from them, because the fear is that if they have an Olympic team, FIFA will say, right, well, you have to have a unified team, and you have to change all your leagues so that it's one league and everything. But, there is no desire for this of any of the football supporting public in any of the countries. It's only paper talk and government talk. But what they've now said, the Scottish FA and the Welsh FA have officially said none of our players will represent the team. Full stop. But they're going to have a British team.
How?
It's called England. But England will represent Britain.
Well, as it always has.
But no,
I don't know how many English people actually draw a distinction between England and Britain. Americans notoriously don't. George Bush. I think it was a Welsh choir girl somewhere. He said where in England is Wales? And she said it's not in England, it's a separate country next to England. And he said, oh right. So, he learned something that day.
I remember.
But I don't know how many English people sort of draw that distinction anymore.
Well, there's two ones like that. Ian Wisnam, the Welsh golfer, and they introduced him as from Aswestry, Wales, England. And he wasn't very happy. And the same thing, there was a story about Andy Murray, the tennis player, and he was introduced as Andy Murray from England. And apparently, I've not checked this up, but apparently he walked on, told the guy, walked off again, and then was reintroduced as Andy Murray from Scotland and came back on the court.
I read about that, I think. But, he's British until he loses and then he's Scottish.
Have you noticed that? I didn't know people in England noticed that.
I didn't follow it, but I've read it somewhere. But it's a standard sort of thing. This whole Britishness thing has been a complete fiasco from start to finish, because you cannot make sense of it. It's the United Kingdom it's like the Austrian Empire. It's a political expedient.
A dying animal.
Very probably, yeah. But it was knocked up in the 18th century as a political expedient, and it is not an eternal system, and it's not going to last forever, and there's no reason why it should.
And no amount of pageantry will keep it together.
Well, yeah, the pageantry is just about all that's keeping it together.
Well,
it's just silly to make a fetish of it. That's all. I mean, don't you have anything better to do?